Hey guys, it's Charlie, and you are watching Thursday on the Pagan Perspective. And today, you're probably expecting to see Erriender, but she had some vacation difficulties, so I'm filling in for her gladly. And this week we're talking about correspondences and basically specific correspondences that we have to things. So I'll read the question real quick. It comes from Mr. Apane, and we've gotten questions from him before. Recently, the group I work with had an open event for seekers to come and ask questions and test the waters before applying to the group for membership. There were a few people who'd practiced personal paths and had pre-established correspondences already. This is not a problem, though. Seeing some of these individuals take the correspondence as doctrine, they found it a shock to see differences. I'd love to hear hosts' experiences learning correspondences and developing associations beyond the Wicca 101 material. Have you any techniques for learning pantheons, crystals, etc.? How about complexity of herbs? Okay, so first I'm going to show you guys this page that I'm doing right now in my Book of Shadows, because it fits kind of well. I'm doing this in the living room, sorry, Zoe's coughing. It fits kind of well with the topic, because right now what I'm doing the page on is Earth. I have specific pages for each of the elements, and I have just started compiling Earth. So I'm going to show you this to you guys real quick. I'm really excited because I don't work in my book as often as I'd like, and I finally decided just to kind of go with it. So I have, I painted, I used some acrylic paint, which I absolutely hate acrylic paint usually, but I did some acrylic paint, and this Pat actually made me. He is a sub on the Pagan Perspective, and this goes over basically my experience with Earth. So I'm going to explain to you guys, I guess, how I come to my correspondences, because I can definitely understand how someone who practices a solitary path might have pre-established correspondences already, and how I can't really see where someone would be like completely just astounded that, oh my gosh, I can't believe that you don't use the same correspondences as me, because in my particular path and in my particular studies, I've met so many people who use different correspondences for different things that I'm not accustomed to. Like, a lot of people use Samhain as the new year, and I use Yule as my new year because it coincides with the solar new year. And Annie, Mirth and Reverence, she actually explained to me why some people celebrate Samhain as the new year, and it made a lot of sense to me. And likewise, when people are usually giving me their correspondences with directions and elements, it usually makes a lot of sense to me, but it's not necessarily how I feel comfortable. But like I think Cara had mentioned in her video, she's had instances where people explain things and it makes so much sense that she actually adopts that way of, or maybe one instance where she adopted that particular way because it just felt right. And that's kind of how I am too, and everyone that I've ever, I guess, met. The only thing that I can think of people as far as practicing solitary is that maybe they haven't had any or very much at all, I guess, interaction with other pagans. And I know obviously all of us here on YouTube, we interact with pagans all the time, and we see each other's interpretations of different things, and specifically around correspondences all the time. So it might just be the norm for us that, hey, someone else might use Earth as North, whereas I personally use Earth as East, because that's just how I feel it's right for me in my particular practice. The specific things we were talking about are pantheons, crystals, and herbs. As far as pantheons, I don't work with a set pantheon. I research different deities and different, I guess, archetypes. I more see them as archetypes, and I work with them in that sense, and I honor them as though they're real, I guess, materialized beings, but I think I'm not loyal to one specific pantheon. I like to work with deities that I feel a personal connection with, and ones that I feel I could really have a good personal relationship with. One thing that helped me is, my mentor told me, kind of view them as friends. Like, you know, you have a friend who maybe you and this friend just have an absolute blast together, and that's the person that you always call up when you want to go out and have fun, and you guys just have a time together. And then, you know, you have another person who's really good at giving you sound advice, and you're really receptive to that person's advice, so you have a relationship with them, and that's something that you can take from it. And I don't want this to be misconstrued as friendships in that it's a one-way friendship where like I would use a friend or use these deities for specific purposes. I know that that is something that I personally feel is unethical, and sometimes my choice of words don't necessarily reflect that, and so it can come off that way. So I just want to be clear, that's not what I mean. But it's definitely like a two-way relationship where it's just a relationship is there. But I don't like to, just like I don't like to confine myself to the title of specifically Wiccan, I also don't like to confine myself to one specific pantheon. And so for me, what I found was helpful in techniques in finding which deities I might like to forge that relationship with, were simply just kind of like reading about some of them and reading the history and why they exist, or how they came to be, or what the mythologies are behind them. And if there's like a really good feeling or something that maybe takes me back to my childhood, or a nostalgic feeling, something like that, then I'll kind of press on with getting to know that deity on a more personal level. As well as like crystals and herbs. Crystals I actually didn't start working with until probably within the last year. I had a lot of crystals, but I didn't actually work with them a lot. So what helps me a lot with crystals, with herbs, with the elements, with colors, everything, is simply being with them. And that's how I found my correspondences. And it may not be a technique that works for everyone, but that's how I found mine. When I was trying to connect with Earth and figure out what are my correspondences with Earth, I spent an entire week just with Earth. I didn't pay attention to anything else. I just spent a week sitting outside, feeling the Earth underneath me, looking at pictures online of different climates and different landscapes in different areas of the world, thinking about different like weather systems and how it could be dry in one place, and how it could be really like cold and barren in another place, and how everything kind of works together. And so what I came up, and I'll just, because I'm on the Earth page, I'll let you know that for me, Earth, the attributes of Earth would be that Earth is feminine, stable and represents stability, resilient, adaptable, nurturing and motherly, represents maturity, is bountiful, unbiased, objective, and forgiving, represents balance and harmony. And those are what I feel from Earth, just because everything kind of always balances itself out from different parts of the Earth as a whole. And the same thing I did with air, with fire, with water, with spirits. The same thing I did with all of the crystals that I have. And what I noticed when I was doing that is not every amethyst feels the same. Not every amethyst has the same message for me or the same purpose for me. One amethyst might be for calm and relaxation. Another amethyst might specifically be to promote prophetic dreams. Or one amethyst might be to help calm my anxiety, and that's specifically what it does. Same thing with what's a stone that I was using for a long time when I was having some trouble at work. I used black tourmaline. Not every piece of black tourmaline felt the same. There were different purposes and different strengths within that stone, something that each stone brought a different, kind of like when you're working with a team of people, each person brings their own strengths and ideas to a group. And the same thing with me with crystals. Then of course you have the scientific attributes of crystals and medical attributes of crystals from like a crystal healing aspect. And those I can, like Cara said, I think she mentioned cross-referencing various sources and kind of finding what's common between them. Same thing I do with herbs. Herbs, I'm a little bit more by the book than I would be with anything else, specifically because if I'm going to be ingesting them, and same thing with like crystals and like gem essence water or gem water or essence water. If I'm going to be consuming it, obviously I need to know that the repercussions, or if there's going to be any side effects or any health concerns or basically any red flags when ingesting herbs or specific crystals or stones. So that, specifically with herbs, I guess I'm a little bit more by the book, and I make sure that I cross-reference not only like magical correspondences, but also looking through herbals. And I have a ton of book on like home remedies and naturopathic healing and homeopathic healing and just a bunch of different stuff on just natural medicine. And so I can use those to kind of cross-reference, as Cara was stating, different like medicinal properties of herbs. However, I try not to use medicinal properties of herbs as often as some, only because I'm not educated fully in that field of study. So if a doctor prescribes something to me, or if I'm at the pharmacy and the pharmacist says, you know, try this, if I'm at the natural pharmacy, then I'll do that. But I tend to shy away from doing it on my own. But as far as magical correspondences, herbs speak to me in various ways, just like crystals do and just like the elements did. For me, certain herbs have a certain purpose from a magical sense. For me, like sage, I don't really like to smudge with sage that often. I might like once a year, but I actually can't stand the smell of burning sage. So to me, there's like this negative kind of icky feeling. So why would I do that when I'm trying to clear out negative energy of my home, you know? So I guess as far as, I mean, those are my techniques for learning, is simply being with whatever it is you're trying to learn, your personal correspondences to, and how your energetic body interacts with the energetic body of whatever it is you're looking to interact with. Yeah, sorry this was kind of rambly. It was very last minute. I'm filming this the day before, and I just found out yesterday, or I just offered yesterday. So I really only had kind of the day to think about this, but I thought it was kind of fitting with specifically how I've learned, which is to simply experience by being with that. I don't pull on my correspondences simply by reading correspondence charts and books. I like to, I mean, I'll do that to kind of maybe get an idea after I've sat with whatever it is I'm looking to find the correspondences to see if maybe other people have commonly had my experience as well. But for the most part, I put more stock in my own ability to basically just know intuitively like what each thing represents to me, or what their correspondences are to me, or what I can use to represent said element or pantheon, or anything like that. So with that being said, I hope everyone has a fantastic week, and I'll actually talk to you guys all next week because it's subs week. And until then, blessed be.